हेलो फ्रेंड्स, केजी क्लासेस में आपका स्वागत है। आज हम आपको लाइफ एंड वर्क्स ऑफ जोनाथन स्विफ्ट, बर्थ एंड एजुकेशन। जोनाथन स्विफ्ट केम ऑफ एन इंग्लिश फैमिली that had in the year 1660 migrated from England to settle down in Ireland. His father, who was also known as Jonathan, was one of the 5 brothers who left their English homes in search of better fortunes. He secured for himself a minor office at the King's Inn, Dublin, but before he could go further, his career was cut short by his untimely death in 1667. The future satirist was born on the 13th November 1667, 7 months after the death of his father, and had to look up to his uncle, Godwin Swift, for his upbringing and early education. Swift, as Leslie Stephen says, cherished a vague resentment against the fates which had mixed bitter ingredient in his lot. He felt the place as well as the circumstances of his birth to be a grievance. The dean resented the incident of his being born in Ireland and seemed to have considered England as the proper place for a young man with aspirations and abilities like him. He is reported to have made this remark: "I happened by a perfect accident to be born here Ireland, and thus I am a take on an Irishman, or what people please, paradoxical as it may appear." Swift never got the recognition he deserved from England, and by a strange logic of events, he had to wage a ceaseless pamphlet war on behalf of the country he disliked. When he was hardly a year old, Swift had to suffer separation from his mother. His nurse was so much attached to him that when she had to return to her native place in England, she kidnapped the infant and brought him over to Whitehaven. The poor mother was so much scared that she asked the nurse to keep the child with her until he was strong enough to undertake the return journey, and so Swift remained in England for 3 years, during which period he was well looked after, and when he did return to Ireland, his mother, compelled by circumstances, had to leave for her native Leicestershire. Swift was left in the custody of his uncle, and being a sensitive child, he must have felt acutely the loss of father and his forced separation from his mother. Swift was given the best possible education by his uncle in 1674. He was sent to Kilkenny School and afterwards in 1682 to Trinity College, Dublin, where he obtained his BA degree in 1686. At college, Swift did not distinguish himself in any way that foreshadowed the future satirist. He did not have much liking for the subject taught there, and was in fact given his BA degree especially gratia. Swift, on account of his stay at college, explained his undistinguished career as partly due to the ill treatment of his relations, which had a discouraging effect on him, and also partly due to lack of interest in the subject taught. Say he, by the ill treatment of his nearest relation, he was so much discouraged and sunk in his spirits that he too much neglected his academic study, for some parts of which he had no great relish by nature, and turned himself to reading history and poetry, so that when the time came for taking his degree of Bachelor of Arts, although he had lived with great regularity and due observance of the status, he was stripped of his degree for dullness and insufficiency, and at last hardly admitted in a manner little to his credit, which is called in that college, especially Gracia. Swift was still studying at Trinity College when the abnormal life in Ireland was disturbed by the political event in England. The Glorious Revolution in 1688 had dethroned James II and brought to the throne William of Orange and Queen Anne, both of whom were against the policy of their predecessor, which favored the Catholics. The new revolution shook the very foundation of Irish life. Violence broke out at several places. Swift, like many others, crossed over to England for safety of his life. Thus ended Swift's first sojourn in Ireland, and to Ireland was he destined to come again when his political career was dragged, but of that later on. His last years. By 1730, Swift had written all that was to secure for him a place in literary history. His Drapier's letters had raised him in the eyes of Irish patriot, but in 1730s his career, political and literary, came almost to an end. His health failed him increasingly. The attacks of vertigo became more acute and more frequent. Never an optimist, he grew increasingly sore and bitter as his age advanced, lonely and miserable in his physical and spiritual suffering. Swift passed his last year in the fastness of St. Patrick's. During the last few years of his life, he lost control of his faculties. His eyesight failed him, but he would not wear glasses. He writhed in pain on account of repeated fits of nausea and retching, but would not suffer any friend or relation to witness his lacerating agony. There he lay in bed, infirm man past 70, deaf and almost unable to read books and keep control of his body. On October 19, 1745, he died. Thus ended a remarkable life. The epitaph which he wrote himself and which was put on his tomb after his death mirrors his nature better than anything else. It reads, "Here is laid the body of Jonathan Swift, Doctor of Divinity, Dean of this cathedral, is buried here where fierce indignation can lacerate his heart no more. Go, traveller, and imitate, if you can, who strove his utmost to champion human liberty." Chronology of the Jonathan Swift. 1667 November 13, birth of Jonathan Swift. 1673 joins Kilkenny Schools. 1682 enters Trinity College, Dublin. 1686 awarded B.A. Special Gratuity. 1689 joins his mother in England. 1689 enters Sir William Temple's service at Moor Park. 1689 becomes acquainted with Esther Johnson Stella. 1690 return to Ireland. 1691 back at the Moor Park. 1691 writes the Ode to the Athenian Society. 1692 M.A. Oxford. 1694 ordinated in Ireland. 1695 presented to the Prebend of Kilroot, Ireland. 1696 return to Moor Park. 1699 death of Temple. 1699 Swift travel to Ireland as chaplain to the Earl of Berkeley. Begins his campaign of the rights of the Church of Ireland. 1700 Visor of Larissa, prebend of St. Patrick's, Dublin. 1701 writes a discourse of the constant and dissensions between the nobles and commons in Athens and Rome. 1702 Doctor of Divinity, Trinity College, Dublin. 1704 A Tale of a Tub, The Battle of the Books and the Mechanical Operation of the Spirit. Published, written probably 1697 to 98. 1606 to 1709 in London, friendship with Edison, Steele, etc. 1709 writes Baker staff paper, friendship with Easter Benhomri Vanessa. 1709 writes a project for the advancement of religion. 1709 June returned to Ireland. 1710 September journey to London on a mission for the Church of Ireland. 1710 edits the Examiner. 1710 writes journal to Stella extending to 1713. 1711 Miscellanies in prose and verse. 1712 Conduct of the Ellis. 1713 June installed as Dean of St. Patrick's, Dublin. 1713 September becomes friend with Pope Scribblus Club founded. 1714 after the death of Queen Anne returned to Ireland. 1721 works on Gulliver's Travel. 1723 June death of Vanessa. 1724 the Drapier Letters. 1726 visit to London. 1726 Gulliver's Travel published. 1727 visits England for the last time. 1728 death of Stella. 1729 a modest proposal. 1731 writes polite conservation directions to servant verses on the death of Dr. Swift, etc. 1732 writes several tracts on Irish affairs. 1735 collected works in 4 volumes published in Dublin. 1738 fifth and 6th volume of collected works published. 1742 declared of unsound mind and memory. 1745 October 19 death of Swift. Objective type question. Swift was born on 30 November in 1667. Second, after the death of his father, Swift was adopted by his uncle whose name was Godwin. Answer Godwin. Third, in 1692 Swift took the degree of MA from answer Oxford. Next, Jonathan Swift was a great writer of answer Augustan age. Swift's political career came to an abrupt end in answer 1713. From Trinity College, Dublin, Swift obtained his BA degree in answer 1682. Next, while Swift was still studying at Trinity College, the Glorious Revolution dethroned James II in answer 1688. Next, when did Swift pass away? Answer 1745. Which work belonged to Swift? Answer A Tale of a Tub. Next, A Tale of a Tub, a masterpiece of Swift published in answer 1704. Thanks, best of luck.